Hi, good people. I just wanted to come on and give some encouragement to those who may be struggling right now. I have a scripture or two for you, but first I want to revisit some things so that you might be more able to trust God in this season if you are in an extremely prolonged um, and heavy period of trials. I've been quiet for some time because I'm back in the dark night of the soul. God showed us this was coming when I made a video back at the beginning of last year titled Urgent Message to the Remnant, the Flood. However, I never understood just how deep into the flood I would be going. So there's a lot going on here. So what I want to talk about is where we are right now in biblical history. We are in that period of Revelations chapter 12 where the enemy is sending a flood after the woman in the wilderness. Now, understanding this is not very hard. The woman is not this weird, mystical, supernatural, mythological, ultra special human beings or bunch of human beings. She simply represents the faithful of God. Now, the flood that is being sent after her are the demonic hordes that have been released from the bottomless pit, which is recorded in Revelations chapter 9. Now, the hordes go out across the earth. Their intent is to deceive, influence, and harass all that they can. And those people whom they cannot deceive, those who are remaining faithful to God and staying in the truth, become enemies of the hordes, so that the hordes see them as those that must be killed, wiped out, or taken out of the game where possible. Back in 2019, I released a word from God, a very serious one. That video was titled Vindication, God's Oath to Change the Leadership of His Church. Now, that was based on Ezekiel 36, verse 7. And God was saying that He was going to clear out of His church all those leaders that are unrighteous. God was saying that He had lifted His hand in an oath. This was not a promise, it was an oath. The difference between a promise and an oath is that a promise often comes with conditions. For example, if my people will turn from their wicked ways, then I will heal their land. That's a promise with conditions. But with an oath, God does it. He completes His will, and it doesn't matter what happens, nothing stops it. Now, the clearing out of the church of unrighteous leaders began 6 months after I released that video back in 2019. Now, it began with the exposure of Todd Bentley. Since then, it's been a constant stream of ridding the church leadership of these type of people. Now, a lot of them have been major players, and we've seen the likes of Ravi Zacharias, Carl Lentz, Mike Bickle, Brian Houston, Jonathan Fletcher, Matt Chandler, Robert Morris, T.D. Jakes, Mark Driscoll, Andy Wood, Jerry Falwell, Alan Scott, Kevin Prosh, Jeremy Riddle. Now, I know some of these are still in ministry, but serious investigations have been carried out. Not only that, but also John MacArthur's Master's Seminary, Willow Creek Community Church, Church Home, Calvary Chapel, Moody Bible Institute, Wheaton College, and the list goes on and on. Now, you can view these on the Royce Report. I'll provide the link below down to Julie Royce's. She's an investigator. So she has detailed information about each of those. Now, I don't know how informed you are about this, how God is dealing with the leadership of the church and they are falling one after the other. But this has become daily news that pastors are being stood down. There are many that are being arrested and incarcerated. Now, I'll put a link below also to a channel where this blind Christian guy just deals with reporting on this, on fallen leaders. Now, of course, this isn't happening just in the US, but it would seem that the US needs the greatest clean out. So my point is this. Before God started to do this, and people are now saying that this is an act of God to clean up his house, but my point is that God lifted his hand in an oath to say he would do it, and nothing is stopping his will. Now, some of these fallen leaders, will return to ministry, and that's because the apostate will be with us until Jesus returns. And there's a reason for that. It's because God uses the apostate to separate the goats from the sheep, or the tares from the wheat. And that's what's happening at the moment. Do you remember they said that the tares won't be separated from the wheat until, the end of this era, before Jesus' return. Now, we have to be very discerning who we follow. We have to be discerning who we will support, because there are plenty of Christians who are supporting the wicked leadership. They want to protect them and stop others from exposing these ungodly leaders. Their motivation is to hide their own actions. These are not faithful people of God. The ones who are protecting the wicked leaders, they are not faithful people of God. If you protect sin and wickedness, then you do not have the same heart as God. God is not overlooking the pain of the lambs that are being mistreated. God will vindicate these victims, the victims of these wicked leaders. He will gather the lambs to himself, and God has the apostate on a different path to the faithful, and they will have a different outcome. So the sheep and goats are being separated now. So now we come to some encouragement for the faithful, because the flood doesn't feel like any kind of vindication for faithfulness, right? Look, I'm struggling even to accept this encouragement myself, but maybe you're not where I am at this time. But here it is, the encouragement. It is another oath. So this is an oath that God has made. It is not a promise that comes with conditions. The Lord will do this. He will carry out his will on this particular thing. Now, it comes in two parts. Part one is for the collective people of God, the faithful church that soon will become evident. As darkness covers the earth, the light will shine, right? Now, this is Isaiah chapter 60, the full chapter. I'm going to let you read it and discern its meaning for yourself. But then there's another part two, and this is actually for specific people. I can't tell you who that is. Let God speak to you and you decide, right, if it's for you or not. Again, I'll let you read it yourself, and it comes from Isaiah 49, the full chapter, right? That was Isaiah 49. Now, there may still be a bit of a weight on this being coming to fulfillment, but I doubt that it'll be too far off because too many events are starting to be fulfilled. So, and because of the escalation of exposure of ungodly leaders recently. Um, the other thing is, the last thing, I'll just finish with this, is if your life is like mine right now, I have all the opposite, all the signs, all that's happening in my life in the natural looks completely the opposite to what God has lifted his hand in an oath to. But I know that when God makes an oath, he keeps it. So stay faithful, stay true. Things will turn around. God will change things. I know this, even though I can't feel it at the moment. God doesn't lie. So bless you all on your journey.